Later today, we're going to have the opportunity to pass a very important bill, the Water Resources Development Act, the WRDA bill. And the presiding officer knows firsthand the importance of this legislation to our ports in New Jersey and Maryland. This is a very important bill, and it's going to get passed. And it's going to get signed by the President. It's a bipartisan bill. I want to congratulate Senator Boxer and Senator Vitter, our chair and ranking member of the Environment and Public Works Committee, for developing a process where Democrats and Republicans, all members of the Senate, could work to develop the very best water resources bill for our country. This follows, I think, in the best traditions of the last Congress, when we were able to pass MAP 21, the surface transportation reauthorization that provided for the building of our roads, our bridges, our transit systems, and the FAA, which dealt with our air highways, with dealing with the most modern air system that we could. So now we're moving forward with the Water Resources Development Act that deals with our nation's locks, levees, dams, and ports, channels, and harbors. Now, there's something in common with both this bill and the two other bills I talked about, the highway bill or transportation bill and the aviation bill. They all involve economic progress and growth, planning for our future, creating the type of job opportunities that we need, and having a modern infrastructure in order to carry that out. For my state of Maryland, Mr. President, this bill is vitally important, vitally important. The Port of Baltimore is an economic engine for the state of Maryland. We have the 9th busiest port in the nation in Baltimore. It's #1 on roll-on and roll-off. The automobile truck import-exports, we're #1 in the country on that. We're #1 on some of our ores and sugars and gypsum. The bulk products, we rank #1 there. So our port is critically important to this country, critically important to our national economy, and vitally important to the Maryland economy. So last summer, I might add that the Port of Baltimore entered into a new contract with several car manufacturers in order to increase its Mazda, in order to increase its traffic within the Port of Baltimore. So my point is that there are thousands of jobs directly and indirectly, tens of thousands of jobs in my community directly and indirectly related to the activities of the port. So why is this legislation so important? Well, I give you many reasons, but let me give you the primary reason. We need to make sure that we have acceptable sites to deal with the dredge material in order to maintain our harbor's depth so that the big cargo ships can come into our port. That's been a continuous struggle for many, many years. And several years ago in Maryland, we developed the Poplar Island solution. The Poplar Island is a barrier island that was disappearing in the Chesapeake. At one time it was habitable, it's no longer habitable. It was just about gone. So before Poplar Island, the popular thought is, well, let's just pick some site and dump the material and not worry about it. But with Poplar Island, we not only have a site where we can put our dredged material, it's an environmental restoration. It provides a haven for wildlife, for birds and habitat. It offers, once again, the original purpose of a barrier island, and that is to protect against the extreme effects of storm. So this is a win-win situation. It gives us a dredge site for the material so we can keep the harbor at the proper depth. It gives us an environmental plus so that we can deal with wildlife in the Chesapeake, and it protects against the extreme weather conditions that occur too often. Well, it was absolutely essential that we change the authorization in order to be able to continue to use Poplar Island as a site for dredge material. And in this legislation, we get that done. We accelerated the Army Corps' reports. We got it back in time. And now that location will be available for many years to come in order to accept the dredge material so we can keep the harbor dredged at its appropriate level. I might say there's also authorization in this bill to make sure that our harbor is maintained at its current depth. But we've gone even further than that. We've planned far into the future by now authorizing Mid-Bay, the next Poplar Island for the Chesapeake. The next Poplar Island, which is, again, a barrier island that is disappearing, will be restored. use for economic purposes, for dredge material, but then converted into a positive for the environment and to protect us against storms. That's what this bill means to my state. Just one example, and we can mention examples all over the country. In regards to the Chesapeake Bay, I've taken the floor many times to talk about the Chesapeake Bay. $1 trillion in our economy comes from the Bay, from watermen and fisheries, from tourists, from commerce, to real estate values. All are affected by the quality of the Chesapeake Bay. The Environmental Restoration Program, we made some common sense reforms to that program in the bill that we will be voting on this afternoon. So there's a lot in here. I want to thank Senator Warner, my colleague from Virginia. The Oyster Restoration Program is in this bill, which is vital to the restoration of the Chesapeake Bay, is to restore our oyster crops. We're making progress on oysters in the Bay, but we got to continue that effort. And the bill that we'll have a chance to vote on this afternoon will allow us to continue to make progress on oyster restoration and on the Chesapeake Bay. There is a continuing authorities program, reforms to those programs. I mention that because some people may not pick this up, the legal significance of the changes that we're making on the continuing authorization programs. That helps our smaller communities. And in Maryland and in New Jersey, there are a lot of smaller communities that very much depend upon projects that may not be as big as Poplar Island or Mid-Bay, but they're very important for the local community. We have, for example, in Cumberland, a dam that needs to be removed. It's going to be a lot easier to get the type of action necessary as a result of the enactment of the legislation we're going to be taking up this afternoon. We have barrier island restorations off of Crisfield on the Lower Eastern Shore, which will be assisted by the changes that we make in this legislation. We deauthorize certain portions of 2 channels on the Lower Shore. Now, that's important because the community needs and wants to have boat slips in that area. By deauthorizing, they can do that, and this is the right use for the community. That's the common sense changes that we've made as a result of the legislation that we will be voting on this afternoon. I want to mention one other provision that is in this bill, and I really want to thank the conferees. And I was proud to be part of the conference, quite frankly. I was on the conference committee. Senator Boxer and Senator Vitter conferred with us frequently, and we came out with a good bill, a bipartisan bill, a bicameral bill, a responsible bill, and a bill that's going to help our economy. But we also put in there the reauthorization of the state revolving fund. Now, Mr. President, we haven't reauthorized the state revolving fund since 1993. This is the program that is critical to our state and local governments in dealing with how we treat our waste. The wastewater treatment facility plants get their funding through the state revolving fund. So it's important that we get it authorized. And that's in the bill that we're going to be taking up this afternoon. I introduced a reauthorization bill in 2009. In that, I would have liked to see the program more robust than it is today. This is a reauthorization that allows us at least to make some significant improvements in the state revolving fund. We deal with green infrastructure to make it easier for green infrastructure in our wastewater treatment plants. Water recapture and reuse. Water is a valuable commodity. We take steps in this bill to do that. Energy efficiency. We waste a lot of energy in our water infrastructure. This makes it more energy efficient, again, helping our country and helping our environment. And it helps economically disadvantaged communities to have a better shot at dealing with wastewater issues. So there's a lot in here, from the smallest community to the largest community to our economy. This is a good day for our nation, because we're going to pass the bill. Bill passed by over 400 votes in the House of Representatives. We're going to pass this bill. The President's going to sign it. This is a good day. Our water infrastructure now has a brighter future for the modernization of our water infrastructure, which gives us a brighter future for our economy. And I was proud to be on the committee that developed the bill, and proud to be part of the conference committee, and proud to join the presiding officer from New Jersey in moving this bill forward. And I look forward to the vote this afternoon.